schools. I've got Montana, I think.
Yep.
And I lost Vermont, and I had North Dakota. Montana and North Dakota. So I've got like 6 electoral votes.
Better than Dukakis, right?
Yes. Our good buddy R.J. Young joining the show now to talk some college football. You know R.J. is the college football on Fox analyst and host of the #1 show on Fox Sports, foxsports.com. R.J., we're going to get into the college stuff. I don't know if our executive producer, Jason Stewart, filled you in on the debate we've just had over the last 20 minutes, but I do need your opinion. Who's more famous, Aaron Judge of the Yankees or Caitlin Clark?
Caitlin Clark.
Oh, come on.
No question. None. Zero.
RJ's supposed to be my guy. RJ, there you go, man.
Oh.
I love the honesty. It's very black and white, right?
You know, it's also baseball versus women's basketball, and women's basketball is very much having a moment right now. The last moment that Aaron Judge had, I had to tell folks that man was chasing Maris, and people were like, who? Whereas Caitlin Clark, you say that, it's like, oh, yeah, I know her. She's a white girl from Iowa that make all them threes. Yeah, there you go.
Right. You guys just prisoners of the moment, I am telling you. All right, at this moment, Georgia is the top-ranked team in the country. But not in your eyes, R.J. Young. Your 1-134 is out. Why does the Associated Press think Georgia is the best and you do not?
I'm not sure why the Associated Press doesn't think that Ohio State is the best. But you know what? I was 6 weeks ahead of them, ranking Michigan #1 last year before they decided to get on the good foot with me, and that ended up being the way it ended. All right? So I'm just going to say they're slow. They're slow. But I think one of the things that I was trying to protect against is I expect Ohio State to go for broke. I expect November 30th to be the only game that matters until January 20th, and that's what they have been building toward. Even knowing what Georgia has, you don't really know what they have. You know what I mean? Like, you know they got Kirby Smart. You know they got Carson Beck. But I got a hard time with people even going, hey, do you know who the best player on Georgia's defense is? And they can't tell me. They can only tell me that Georgia's defense is going to be good. We'll find out if that matters. But if you take a look at the schedule, my goodness, guys, I see at least 2 losses on that schedule. But I should also say I don't think anybody's going undefeated. But Georgia's up against it. That said, we all agree on who's going to be in the national championship game.
On the Ohio State side of things, how concerned are you about their offensive line? And we know about their defensive ends. We know about JTT. We know about Jack Sawyer. We know about these guys. What about the interior of their defense? Any of that concern you? Because it has been a weak spot. Michigan's taken advantage of it. O-line, interior defense. Are they going to be able to, I don't know, maybe overcome some of the issues that they've had the last couple of years, despite all of the firepower that they've got everywhere else?
They believe they're going to be better on the interior of the offensive line than they were last year, which would help them considerably, but I don't know how putting Seth McLaughlin at starting center is going to make you better. A guy that can't snap the football to the quarterback is a problem, okay? That's one. 2 is you still got a hole at left guard that you got to fill. You don't know exactly who's going to be, but you feel good about some of the guys that could be there. To the overarching point, I think this is why Chip Kelly has the job calling plays for Ohio State now and why we're probably going to see Will Howard starting more games than most people think at quarterback. You're going to try to find a way to run away from that when you can, and that's why you got guys like Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson in the backfield is to try to make up for that. I don't know that it's going to be a Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line, right? But I don't think it has to be. I think it just has to be good enough to convince you that they can run the ball effectively. If they can do that, then the pass pro will take care of itself.
All right, RJ, we got a little beef now. So I just checked out your list, and you have a team that I have a very fond nature to, kind of a little lower than I would have expected you to have them. You got Louisville Cardinals at 35. Tell me about why they're rated in that area for yourself and not a little bit higher.
Well, first, fill me in as to your affiliation. You got a kid on the team? You got a nephew? We got family?
I went to Louisville.
Oh, see, there we go, right?
Yeah, there it is. Completely unbiased here at Fox Sports Radio.
And again, I get somebody who's a daddy going to tell me, you down on my team. I'm like, hey, dog, hey, come on now, you know. But it's one of those where I did not expect the season Louisville had last year to be the season that they had, right?
Yep.
I understand they get better. I understand why you might feel that way about Ashton Gillett, right? I get that.
Yes.
But Tyler Shuck needs to play an entire season without feeling like he's going to fall apart. I say the same thing about Quinn Ewers at Texas. Give me an entire season your quarterback play where you are healthy. That said, does he have the goods to run that offense? Absolutely. I also think that you're in a conference that got better without people knowing about it, because you'll notice I got Southern Methodist right there next to you, and that's not a dig. That's who you are. And Southern Methodist is good. Louisville is good. Are they good enough to be a top 25 team? We'll find out by October.
Here's the amazing thing about R.J. Young. You're not going to do any radio shows outside of Louisville, Kentucky that are going to ask you about Louisville. And he came guns a-blazing.
He was ready to go.
Yeah, he was. Let's see how you do about 115 in Nevada. No, I'm just kidding. That is where Nevada is. But I'm just kidding. Just kidding about that. I do want to stay in the ACC, though, since you mentioned it. You do have Florida State 5th. They obviously, you've got some sour feelings from last year. AP doesn't have them as high as you. Why are you higher on Florida State than maybe others, RJ?
Dan, you know better than most people. I walk around with it equally balanced with a chip on both shoulders, and it powers me through a lot. I was telling anybody that would listen last year that Florida State ain't played nobody, right? But they should be in the in the college football playoff if they win the ACC and run the table undefeated, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe that losing your starting quarterback voids that guarantee, and that's what we did. We convinced the kids that scoreboards don't matter, winning every game you play doesn't matter, and we've taken that from them. And I think Florida State wants to take it back. I think that Mike Norvell did what Lane Kiffin did. He went into the portal and he rolled out the best and the brightest. I'm telling you, man, the way that people talking about Jared Verse, you guys have not seen Patrick Payton yet. That man is a terror. Fentrell Cypress is not a guy you're going to throw on. If DJ Uiagalelei can live up to the billing of being the second best player in the 2020 class behind Bryce Young, who's in the NFL now and won a Heisman Trophy, they got everything they need. And they're going to get opportunities to show that. On the road against Southern Methodist is going to be a really good test for them. And then later in the year, they got one of the games I think is going to shape the college football playoff picture against Notre Dame. And there's everything to play for there because DJ Uiagalelei has not led anybody to a conference championship. And now Florida State knows that ain't good enough. Now, it's a 12-team playoff, but that's how they're going to operate. They're going to operate as if you will leave us out because you left us out before. I'm buying into that. I'm buying into the hate here. I'm buying into we're playing against everybody else because that's where I'm from. Now, other people might not, but that's what makes them a top 5 team to me as opposed to a top 15 team to me.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Name your 12-team playoff right now. If the season plays out the way you think it is, who would be your 12 right now?
I mean, I don't know if Dan got time for this, but let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like
we can take it. We can just name the team.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you got Ohio State and Georgia winning the 2 leagues in the Big Ten and the SEC. You have Florida State in the ACC. Right. And then in the Big 12, I'm looking at the rankings here. This is the funny thing, this is the adjustment in figuring out, all right, okay, Utah in at number 12, right? Okay. So there would be your 4 buys, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So does that sound good so far, RJ?
Right. And then I think you pencil in the teams that are playing in those conference championship games in the Power 4, right? Because if, let's say, Ohio State is playing Oregon, we're going to think Oregon is a top 12 team. They'll probably get in that large berth.
Sure.
Right? Georgia is probably playing Texas, right? We'll probably think they'll get in that large berth. And then we're talking about maybe Clemson, depending on what they do against Georgia. If they beat Georgia, I'm willing to pencil them in as that team that's playing in the conference championship game against the ACC. And then we're getting to the – go ahead.
I was just going to say this, because I'm sure you're going to have a post about it before the season of what your prediction is going to be. We'll just say this. Does Notre Dame make the top 12? Does Notre Dame make your playoff bracket?
Not unless they run the table. That's the question. I'm glad you cut to the chase on that. They got to win every game they play, okay, because they don't play much of nobody this season, okay? They got Florida State, who I mentioned. They got SC, and they got A&M to open. Everybody else, they ought to be favored to win. Now, I think that Notre Dame should suffer for not joining a conference. I think if you don't play for a conference championship, and we have now said it is important to us that you play conference championships because we're giving automatic qualifying and we're getting bids to the highest ranked conference champions, and you choose to say, nah, we good, you live with that. So if you got 1 loss against SC at the end, I don't want to hear from you. If you got 1 loss against Florida State, I don't want to hear from you. If you lose an opener to a team I struggled to put into the top 25 in A&M, but, I did it, I'm going to hold that against you. So run the table. go be who you claim to be, Notre Dame. Until then, I don't want to hear about it. I think that spot should go to a third team in the Big Ten or the SEC, depending on how the rest of the schedule breaks.
You know, it is funny because I do feel that Notre Dame has had this leverage since the beginning of time with college football. But those 4 byes really do swing the table to tell, hey, Notre Dame, you may have to get into a league. It's the first time where really they've kind of been put the pressure on them, because it's going to be a tough road to haul. If you got to sit there and be a 5-6 seed and win those extra games, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot. And if there was anything to push them into a league full time, that would do it. He's RJ Young. Get him on X at RJ_Young. We're throwing everything at you, RJ, and you went a perfect 10 for 10. So that was amazing. Can't wait to have you on more as the season approaches, and we'll talk to you again soon, man. Thanks.
Dan, you're the man. Thanks so much.
Host of the